All right, welcome to the Haider Podcast, Part 6 of our 2013 wall-to-wall baseball preview. Today we're going to be breaking down the National League West Division. As always, partner in crime, Joe Pascal here. All right, so the National League West. Definitely one of the least talked about divisions in baseball, even though there's only 6. I feel like this one doesn't get the same publicity as the NL East or the AL East. I don't know if it's the whole West Coast thing or just the lack of kind of excitement, even though they have the World Series champion to the last 3 years in the division. I don't know what it is.
I think it's just the West in general, especially since we're on the East Coast. I think it's just the West because AL West, I feel like it's the same way. And, all the divisions in the American League, AL West is kind of left behind. You don't really hear about, especially because up till this year, it was 14th division in AL West, and then NL West is just kind of you got the Rockies and Padres and Diamondbacks. Teams aren't that great.
Yeah,
so those kind of get forgotten.
Yeah, not a lot of teams in this division are getting national TV games.
Yeah.
All right, so let's run through our projected order of finish here in the NL West. I'll give mine, then Joe will give his. I got, in first place, the defending World Series champion, San Francisco Giants. Second place, the new look, new ownership, Los Angeles Dodgers. Third place, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Fourth place, the San Diego Padres. And finishing in last place, the Colorado Rockies. Now, Joe, what does your projected order of finish look like?
Mine's similar to that, except for the top 2 teams. I think the Dodgers are going to win the division. The Giants coming in second. Diamondbacks third. Padres 4th. And the Rockies 5th.
All right. So let's start in the Bay Area. Defending World Series champion, San Francisco Giants. Let's go ahead and run through their lineup here. Catcher Buster Posey, who recently signed a huge contract extension that's going to keep him in San Francisco for the very foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Until like 2020, I think. This is what they said they had him signed till.
About $18.5 million a year contract.
Yeah.
Got paid.
But a catcher with his type of offensive abilities as well as defensive abilities is worth that kind of money. All right, first base, Brandon Belt. Second base, Marco Scutaro, is kind of the hero of their postseason last year. Shortstop, Brandon Crawford. Left field, Henry Blanc.
You forgot third base.
Oh, third base. Oh, how did I forget Panda? How do you miss him? Third base, Pablo Sandoval. Left field, Henry Blanco?
Gregor Blanco. Come on, dude.
Sorry. Center field, Angel Pagan. Right field, Hunter Pence. Pitching staff, Matt Cain, Madison Bumgarner, Tim Lincecum, Ryan Vogelsong, and Barry Zito. I think San Francisco, they didn't lose anything from last year, and when you're the defending World Series champions and playing in a division like this, the only really team that got exponentially better was the Dodgers, but there's a lot of questions surrounding the Dodgers that we'll touch on later on in the show. I just think San Francisco, they're just too strong to lose kind of the top spot in this division. What do you think about that?
They're solid. They're a defending world champs.
Yeah.
It's one of those teams where it's hard to pick against them. Whenever they go somewhere, they're gonna have a target on their back. They're gonna be a team that everybody wants to beat. Hey guys, Lincecum has shown the past couple years. You'll know what he's gonna do. Matt Cain had an incredible year last year. If he can repeat that, they have a really strong chance of winning the division, but that's the big question, if he can repeat that. And, it's just, they're good. Can they keep it up, though?
Yeah. Their starting pitching is definitely the strength.
Yeah. I like him a lot with Lincecum, cut the locks off.
Yeah, he kind of had a down year last year, too.
Cut the locks off in the offseason, added a little weight to him. Hopefully he'll be back in form and pitching well for them. He's at their 3 spot as their pitcher. So, I think he'll be a solid guy for that spot.
Yeah. The only thing I have, a question about really is, they signed Scutaro to that deal and Pagan, and they were instrumental in their run last year in the postseason to the World Series. But you don't know if that was just they got hot. Or, Scutaro's bounced around to so many teams, he can't really seem to catch on anywhere. And then he had a good postseason for San Francisco last year, and they gave him this great deal. and you don't know if he's going to be able to keep up the same level of production. I mean, he was hitting out of his mind in the postseason.
Yeah, he was. Like I was saying, I mean, it's just a matter of can these guys have repeat performances like they had last year. That's going to be the main thing for like all their big time players. I mean, especially like with their pitching staff, Matt Cain, like you said, Marco Scooter. Can they play at the level that they were at last year and in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, Posey with his offensive production as well as Belt and Sandoval. I mean, they have guys who can hit the ball at the ballpark, and then they kind of have a good blend of power and kind of hitting for average in that lineup. They don't really have a murderer's row type lineup where opposing pitchers are shaking.
It's still an intimidating lineup, especially in the middle of the lineup. I mean, you get some guys that can crush. Adds a little protection because you got 3 or 4 guys that can hit the ball really, really well. And it's going to be tough to get those guys out. It's going to be tough to get hits off them with their starting pitching, but I still think that they're going to finish second behind the Dodgers just because, as we'll talk about in a little bit, Dodgers lineup is kind of stacked right now.
All right, so let's head down to Southern California and talk about the Dodgers, as you just mentioned. Came under the new ownership last year, sold for $2 billion or whatever, and kind of surprised everyone when they made that trade with the Red Sox, taking Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, and Josh Beckett from the Red Sox. A lot of people questioned it with the financial implications that the deal entailed. Huge contracts for all 3 of those guys. But the new owners seem like they're ready to win now and kind of restored the pageantry and kind of pride in the Dodger franchise that had kind of been gone by the wayside under the McCourt regime. But when you do look at their lineup, they got some pretty big name guys. Yeah, so you want to go ahead and run through that for us?
All right. The Dodgers starting lineup behind the plate is A.J. Ellis. At first is Adrian Gonzalez. Second, Mark Ellis. Third, Luis Cruz. Shortstop, Justin Sellers. In left field, you got Carl Crawford. Center field, Matt Kemp. Right field, Andre Ethier. And the pitching staff for the Dodgers is going to be Clayton Kershaw, Ryu as the number 2 pitcher, and Josh Beckett, Zach Greinke, and rounding out the rotation is Billingsley. But big person that's going to be on the DL to start the season, Hanley Ramirez.
Yeah, who hurt his thumb or finger or something in the World Baseball Classic. It was kind of a weird thing. But, yeah, obviously with the guys that they acquired from the Red Sox towards the end of last year, in Gonzalez and Crawford and Beckett, if those guys can get back to the form that they've had in the past that earned them those big contracts, this team is going to be pretty dangerous this coming season.
Especially once Hanley comes back into the lineup. I mean, they have the potential to do some big things.
Yeah. My biggest question is with the guys they did bring over from the Red Sox, Gonzalez, obviously, he had such great success in San Diego and signs with Boston, and then, it was just a shell of his former self. Crawford signs the huge deal with Boston after all those years in Tampa Bay and just can't stay healthy. And then Beckett, with the whole, stuff going on behind the scenes, just kind of fell out of favor with the Red Sox and wasn't performing at the same level. But I don't know if...
I think a change of scenery is going to do all 3 of those guys good. I mean, I think it's just, being in Boston, being up there on the East Coast, I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
Different lifestyle, different, situation, culture going into. I think going back, especially like Adrian Gonzalez going back to California, and just Beckett and Crawford, get a new change of scenery, hopefully stay healthy. I mean, I think they're all due for having a solid season. Not necessarily like a spectacular All-Star or MVP season or Cy Young, but they're all due for a good season, I feel like.
Yeah. Crawford just needs to stay on the field, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was never healthy. I mean, right when he got traded to the Dodgers last year, he hurt his elbow, had to have Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's his biggest thing is just being able to actually play.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, when he did play, he wasn't the same guy who he was in Tampa, but
If they can get a full season out of him, he'll give them good enough production to where they'll be competing for the division and competing, to go to the World Series. I feel like.
you're going out that far, say World Series potentially.
I mean, if you make the playoffs, you have a chance to go to the World Series. I haven't won the division. Of course, I'm going to say they have like a shot at making it.
All right.
I'm not saying that they're gonna make it. I'm just saying. I mean, I picked them to win the division. They're gonna have a chance.
True. All right, now let's talk about their pitching staff. Obviously, Kershaw is a bona fide ace.
Kershaw's one of the
Top pitchers in
top
baseball.
3 or 4 pitchers in all of baseball.
This guy Ryu, their 2 big signings this offseason were this guy Ryu from Japan,
Yeah, Hyun-Jin Ryu. I think that's how you say his name.
who looks like,
6'2", 255 pounds. Big old boy.
yeah.
Big old lefty.
And then, obviously, they brought in over Beckett last year, and then they signed Zach Greinke to a huge deal. Everybody was talking about Greinke with the whole personality disorder thing, how well he kind of meshed in L.A. He pitched with the Angels last year. Didn't have great success.
He wasn't bad though. He's decent for what they needed him for, and especially in this. I mean, in this rotation, he's like the 3-4 pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to give them solid production out of that slot. Yeah, I mean, with his whole, can't like the whatever disorder it was.
Some person
anxiety or
something like that.
I mean, yeah, LA's big. I feel like it's not as it's like he went to New York where it's ultra just criticizing every little thing you do. I mean, LA's a big market.
LA's a big city, but as far as
I feel like
exposure,
I feel like that the media will help him more than hurt him. Like it's not going to be. It's not. They're not going to go after him and try to put him down or
just give him crap like all the New York media outlets do. So I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers have just been such a circus the last couple of years under the previous ownership that just the fact that if they're somewhat exciting and winning games, that the fans will get behind them and support them.
And the fact that he doesn't have to be the man for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Is also big because you got Kershaw, you got Ryu. I mean, you got
Beckett and Billingsley around you. You don't have to be the guy. You can be 3-4 pitcher,
and still, I mean, you're not going to get criticized if you go out there and have a bad game.
Yeah. I also think the Dodgers, they're going to be definitely in the move around the trade deadline if they have injuries or if they're in a run, if they're in contention, which both of us think they will be.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the new money that they brought in from the ownership change and then the huge television deal they signed, they're going to be in position to acquire guys if they feel like they can make a run at it. And the new ownership group has, made it well and clear that the fact that they want to win now. They're not building for 5 years down the road. They spent all the money to, become the owners because they want to win the World Series and restore Dodger pride, and that's good for the fans because they get behind the LA fans get behind the Dodgers. That's kind of been the one franchise in LA where the fans haven't kind of wavered with as far as their support for the team when the team wasn't experiencing much success. I mean, obviously when they weren't that good the last couple of years, they haven't been selling out the ballpark, but they still show up. The Lakers kind of come and go. I mean, obviously they've been so good for the last couple of years where it hasn't really...
The Lakers are more of you want to be seen there because it's cool to go to the Lakers game.
But look at the Clippers. I mean, a couple of years ago they were awful, but now they got Chris Paul and they're actually a semi-confident basketball team.
Yeah, and so people show up for that. But yeah, people go to the Dodgers game and I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be exciting this year because they're gonna be good and. People are going to rally behind that and give them a lot of support.
Yeah. Here's my one beef with the Dodgers. I just have to get this out there because it drives me wild. Whenever you see it on TV, they always say, Magic Johnson and the Dodgers. If you read or look up...
He's the highest profile minority owner they have.
But he owns
It's like saying Jay-Z and the Nets.
Yeah, but the thing
Jay-Z owns like less than like 1%.
Magic. The Dodgers, the new group paid like $2 billion or whatever. Magic put in $50 million. When you calculate, that's like 2.5%.
It's a lot of money still.
I get why they do it. It just is.
He's the biggest profile guy that they have.
Yeah, it seems like he's the guy running the show. Obviously, he's pretty hands-on because you always see him around the stadium and he has an office there and whatnot. But it's just
a minority owner that wants to be involved with it. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of comical sometimes because, like, you know, just whenever they show him on ESPN, I don't know if it's the fact that he's one of their employees or what, but I mean,
it's a big profile guy. Like, it'd be the same thing if they show like Justin Timberlake at like a Grizzlies game or something.
Yeah,
Timberlake's like a minority owner, but he's still like one of the biggest name, like the name that most people recognize. Jay-Z doesn't really own too much of the Nets, but people recognize his name.
His influence on the franchise.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's not on this like minority level owner of like all those people that the Dolphins owner brought in, like Fergie and Jennifer Lopez, where they own like 0.0001%.
They still own like 1 or 2%.
Yeah,
so it's
just
like,
here show up at these events and
so it's still a decent stake in it. I mean, if you're putting Magic, you're putting $50 million into it. I mean, you're going to want to be around the team and want to have somewhat of a say, even though you're a couple like 2 or 3% owner of the team. But I don't know. I mean, he still has. I think just because he's a big time celebrity, he still has some influence, or they want to make it appear that he has some influence with it. So when they mention new ownership, Magic Johnson's always going to get brought up.
Yeah, and like when you see him on TV and whenever doing interviews, I mean, he knows what's going on with the team.
Yeah.
He's hands on. It's just as far as technically contractually speaking, he's not the majority owner. All right, but let's move on to the Diamondbacks. Young team. They've got some players and they've got some young pitching, but I think they're a couple years away from seriously competing. And I just think it's a situation where they're going to be a fun team to watch and have a chance to finish above 500, but the two teams in front of them in the division, just the gap between them is too big for them to even kind of contend for the division crown. So their lineup shapes up to be catcher Miguel Montero, first base Paul Goldschmidt, second base Aaron Hill, third base Martin Prado, shortstop Cliff Pennington, left field Jason Kubel, center field Gerardo Parra, right field Cody Ross, and then their pitching staff is Ian Kennedy, Brandon McCarthy, Trevor Cahill, Wade Miley, and Patrick Corbin. It's not a bad lineup. It's just
not a lot of guys that just stick out.
Yeah.
There's not really a superstar on the entire team that you can just pick out. Like, you ask the average Major League Baseball fan who's not a Diamondbacks fan or who knows the AL West real well, just your average fan. I mean, they'll maybe recognize a couple of those names just for the hell of it, but not anybody that is truly gonna stick out and be like a bona fide stud. I mean, I think they got a lot of solid guys and people that pay attention to baseball and know what's going on. I mean, they got some solid players, but no high profile names on there like the last two teams have had.
Yeah, just a bunch of quality guys.
Yeah.
But they don't have the kind of name brand star power.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have your...
I think they're going to be pretty decent, though.
I think they're going to be good. I mean, they're going to finish third division. I mean, I think they have, 80 wins, maybe 80-something wins, 82, 83.
Do you think they have a realistic shot to finish above 500?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, if not, they're going to be right at it. I think they're definitely going to finish third. Somebody... Dodgers get played with injuries real bad. Giants get played with injuries.
Both of which could very well happen.
You might see the Diamondbacks sneak in there as the 2. Maybe catch a wild card spot. I don't think they're going to, but they're a team that's going to be just they're going to be sneaky good. You're not really going to hear about them.
But you're not going to want to play them in September.
Yeah, you're not going to hear about them really. They're not going to have anybody that's doing anything outstanding. They're not going to have anybody hitting 50 home runs or hitting 370 or something like that. Unless somebody just gets hot. Which I don't know. But they're going to be sneaky good.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have any big boppers either. I mean, Goldschmidt and Kubel are like two guys in their lineup that are kind of their power bats, and
Aaron Hill can hit some too.
they don't have that bona fide
Yeah.
slugger like Adrian Gonzalez or Buster Posey who can, hit 30 home runs. And they're hoping Goldschmidt can become that guy. He just hasn't really reached his potential, but I like him though. He's
Still be somebody to watch for sure. I mean, this is going to be a team that you just got to keep an eye on. They're going to be right in there. They could do some things. If bad things happen to the Dodgers or Giants, injuries or something, they could definitely be there.
Yeah, their pitching staff I think is underrated. Definitely. I mean, Ian Kennedy, he finished second in the Cy Young voting a couple years ago.
Yeah.
McCarthy's pitched well for Oakland. Trevor Cahill's pitched well. Wade Miley, wasn't he an all-star last year? I'm pretty sure. And then Patrick Corbin as their 5. I mean, he's kind of young still, but he's shown some flashes. But as your 5 starter, just keep you in the game, really.
Not really looking for too much. I mean, it's more just getting some experience. But if he can keep them in games, if he can win 10 games for them, that's all you're really asking for.
Yeah, and they have some young pitching coming up the pipe. So if Corbin struggles, they might bring one of their other young guys up, like Tyler Skaggs or Archie Bradley, just to see what they can do. Obviously, they traded away Trevor Bauer in the offseason to the Indians, who had kind of been their prized possession in their farm system and had gotten some major league experience, but obviously they felt that they had enough behind them where he was expendable to a certain extent. But yeah, Arizona's I think they're gonna be one of the funner teams to watch in the majors.
Definitely.
They're gonna be kind of one of those almost not as kind of on the level of the 2004 Red Sox, where it's just kind of a bunch of no-name guys. They come together, they like playing with each other, but obviously they don't have May Ramirez and David Ortiz.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks are always fun to watch. It'd be a fun game to get to. They got the pool out in the outfield. It's just an enjoyable environment, I feel like.
How much do you think that pool suite cost to rent the game?
A lot. I would imagine.
Like 30 thou?
I have no idea. I'm guessing. I'm sure we could look it up.
How funny was that a couple years ago when they were interviewing Justin Timberlake out there or whatever during the All-Star game? Was the All-Star game and he said something like Joe Buck? He was
making fun of Joe Buck the entire time.
And then Joe Buck got all you could tell he was so pissed off about it.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's that stadium and those fans. I feel like it's more like a laid back, chill, loose environment, and I think that's going to transition to this team. That's another reason why I think they're going to be well. I mean, it's a bunch of guys that are kind of under the radar, but still solid players, and I think they're just gonna if they can come together good. I mean, I think they're just gonna be loose, not really too much pressure, and that's why they're gonna be able to win some games.
Yeah, how did we forget to mention this? They lost Justin Upton, their one superstar. They traded him to Atlanta. I mean, I think that they're gonna miss him, but
they're gonna miss him. But I think they're still gonna be fine. Sometimes getting rid of a superstar can be a good thing. I mean, even though he's a stud player, I'm not saying he caused any problems or anything like that, but, sometimes just having a guy that's a superstar that you rely upon, getting rid of him means that, it forces other guys to step up. And
give another guy a shot.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Somebody big could step up. Goldschmidt could have a stellar season, or Aaron Hill could step up, or Kubel could just play out of his mind, It gives other guys opportunities to try to be the guy.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Alright, just going back to the pool thing. Better outfield fan feature. The pool in Arizona or the nightclub at Marlins Park out in left field to Clevelander?
The pool. I hate Marlins Park. I hate the Marlins Park. It's the ugliest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life.
You don't like the little cheap amusement park ride thing in center when they hit a home run?
Hell no. The freaking neon green padding on the wall. It's ugly. The fish tank is cool. I get it. That's kind of cool. It's weird, but it's cool. But no, the pool is 100 times better than the Marlins Park.
How crazy would it be if a pass ball during a game and it broke the fish tank?
It'd be terrible.
That'd just be so crazy.
It'd be funny.
It'd be like Randy Johnson hitting the bird.
Yeah, it'd be funny.
But not as cool.
But it would be terrible. sure it's like thick, like bulletproof.
Oh yeah, that thing has to be like an inch or so thick.
Yeah, at least.
Probably, it's not the glass you'd go down to like the
plastic.
hardware store and buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hate that stadium. I hate the Walnut Stadium. Definitely. I mean, I always loved the pool and the outfield. I thought that was cool. I always thought that was a neat feature to have.
Yeah, it's unique. It kind of makes it.
It makes it different. Like I said, it's like a loose environment. It's fun. Like yeah.
Down the desert. It's hot. Yeah.
It's a nice time.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauty things about baseball is you go to these parks. Like you go to a lot of the different like NFL stadiums. They all kind of look the same.
Mm-hmm.
But like you go to these Major League Baseball parks.
You can do a lot more. There's a lot more, outfield. You can do different things on the walls. You can do different things.
Yeah, like Baltimore, they have like the old factory-looking building out in right field.
Yeah.
Petco has the factory-looking thing.
Yeah.
They have the pool in Arizona.
Everybody has their own.
They got like the mountain thing in Anaheim.
Uh-huh.
It's just a lot. It's a little more intimate than a football stadium.
Exactly.
That they all kind of look the same. All right, so let's head back to California. Talk about the Padres. So let's go ahead and run through their lineup here. Catcher, Nick Hundley. First base, Yonder Alonso. Second base, Jed Gorko. Third base, Cody Ransom. Shortstop, Everett Cabrera. Left field, Carlos Quinton. Center field, Cameron Maben. Right field, Chris DeNorfia. Pitching staff, Edison Volquez, Clayton Richard, Eric Stoltz, Jason Marquis, Tyson Ross. And with the Padres, they're two big kind of...
Two huge injuries, or not necessarily huge, but pretty big injuries. Two guys that would have been starting opening day. Logan Forsythe at second is on the 15-day DL, retroactive to, I believe, the 22nd of March. And
so he shouldn't be there on there that long.
No, I mean, he'll miss the first week or so of the season. And then Chase Headley is also on the 15-day DL, retroactive to, I think, like the 23rd of March.
And he's kind of like their big gun in the lineup.
Yeah, so those guys are just going to miss, first couple games. So it's not that big a deal. But they're still going to be out opening day. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres, obviously they have guys like Carlos Quinton and Chase Headley, but I just don't think they have enough offense to keep them in games with the kind of subpar pitching staff that they have.
Yeah, and they got Edson Volquez,
who's he's a solid starter.
Pitcher.
I don't think he's necessarily the ace of can be the ace of a staff.
That's true.
But
he's still a good pitcher.
Yeah,
he'll be good for them. And then the rest of them, it's just kind of their 2 through 5 is just kind of question marks more. So their entire pitching staff is kind of question mark as a whole.
Yeah, Jason Marquis. He's been in the majors for it seems like forever, but he hasn't really found a consistent home. He's kind of bounced around.
Mm-hmm. He's had some good years. He's had some bad years. He kind of just inconsistent on when he's good and when he's bad.
Yeah, Yonder Alonso is a good young first baseman. Has the potential to be a power hitter. Just hasn't really kind of filled those shoes yet when they acquired him from the Reds in the Matt Latos deal. Carlos Quinton he's shown power before in Chicago and Arizona, and that's what he kind of was brought in to be their big bopper in the middle of the lineup. Cameron Maben, they also paid him, hoping that he could become, a potential base stealing, home run threat, be a solid top of the lineup guy. He hasn't really lived up to it yet. I really can't see them finishing any higher than 4th in this division.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to finish 4th just because they have some guys. They have some guys that can hit or have potential to hit well. So that's going to keep them in some games, win some games. But their pitching staff isn't good enough for them to really compete too much in this division.
Yeah. What do you think is a realistic wins expectation for the Padres? What's their over under at?
74.5.
So you thinking over or under?
I don't know. I'm not gonna pick an over under for them right now. I think that's 74.5. I feel like it's a solid number.
Yeah.
I feel like it can be anywhere from like right around there, 74, give or take, like 3. I think anywhere from. I think they're going to win in the 70s, somewhere in the 70s.
Yeah, that's probably realistic.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can see them. They 71, 72, and all the way up to 70, 75, 76.
I don't think they're gonna even hit 80.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think if they get, more than 76 wins, they get 78, 79. I think that's a good season for them with the talent that they have.
I think they're in the next couple of years they're gonna start to improve a little bit, but I just think they're a couple of years away at this point.
They just need to add some pieces to their lineup.
Pitching.
Yeah. Mainly pitching. And they just got to get some guys that are, that have been decent for them or all right to start, getting their act together and playing well.
I was going to pick them to finish last in the division, and then I looked at their pitching staff versus Colorado, and, it's not, worldly better, but it's a little better.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Colorado's lineup is a little better, but when it comes down to it, pitching is what wins you games.
Mm-hmm. Even so, I could see, the Padres, even if they, only getting a couple more wins than the Rockies still.
Yeah.
That's why it's going to be close to the bottom. I know it doesn't really matter, but, the Rockies could still get 70 wins, and the Padres getting up with 73, 74.
Yeah. You had the over-unders up. What are the over-unders on the Giants, Dodgers, and Diamondbacks, since we did it for the Padres?
Yeah, Dodgers over-under is 91.5.
What would you take for that?
I haven't won in division, so I got to take the over.
You got to take the over?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the under, but not by much. High 80s, I think, is going to be their win total.
Giants are at 87.5.
Wow, so they think that they have the Dodgers.
They have what I have.
By winning the division.
Yeah.
Well, since I have the Giants winning the division, I'm going to have to take the over on that one.
Yeah. I could still see them hitting the over. I could see it being a 90, Dodgers getting 92 wins, 93, Giants getting 88, 89.
Yeah. What are the Diamondbacks at?
Diamondbacks are at 81.5.
Really? That's high. For an over-under for the for the team, 81.5 means they think they're going to finish about 500.
Mm-hmm.
But, usually they set it a little under.
Yeah, I think that, I like this. The 87.5 for the Giants and 81.5 for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are going to be one of those teams that are going to be sneaky good. And I think the Giants, it's going to be hard for them to repeat the performance they had last year. So I think with those two, it's something that's realistic. Definitely.
I can see the Diamondbacks taking that role of kind of what the Rays were for the Yankees and Red Sox, a couple years ago. How whenever September rolled around and both the Yankees and Red Sox were in the middle of pennant division races or wild card, the Rays were just that one team that would just be the thorn in their side.
Yeah,
and they didn't want to play them. And it would always steal a couple games, and that's where the Diamondbacks, I think, come in this division.
Yeah, definitely, I can see that happening.
But let's move on to the Rockies here,
who are at a 70.5 over under.
Wow. Yeah, so I think the making the move to putting them in the last position was probably smart. All right, so let's run through their lineup here. We got catcher Willen Rosario, first base Todd Helton, who, the ageless wonder. What's he been playing for at least 15 years?
A while.
Yeah.
A while. Not too much longer left.
Yeah, probably not. Second base, Josh Rutledge. Third base, Chris Nelson. Shortstop, Troy Tulowitzki. Left field, Carlos Gonzalez. Center field, Dexter Fowler. Right field, Michael Kadire. And then their pitching staff, Julius Chasen, Jorge De La Rosa, Jeff Francis, Juan Nicasio, and John Garland, who they recently signed to be their fifth starter in the rotation. The lineup isn't bad on paper. Obviously what guys like Kadire and Tulo and Gonzalez and Helton can do.
Willen Rosario is going to be a solid guy offensively for him, too. But, not hitting too much for me. He's got to hit 20 home runs.
I just don't think they're... their pitching staff is
Yeah.
at least starting pitching is bad.
Yeah. It's also a place that's, playing Coors Field.
Yeah, not a pitcher's friendly park.
Tough place to pitch. I mean, it's like we're talking about earlier. I mean, Chasen had, for guys last year that started like at least 5 games, Chasen had the lowest ERA, and that was like a 4.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I know that seems high, but it is high. For Coors Field, it's not too bad.
Yeah, you want ground ball pitchers in Coors Field.
But still, I mean, your ace, your staff is still doing that.
What was his win-loss last year?
I don't remember. I just noticed the ERA was around 4. Give me a second. I can look it up real quick.
Obviously, with Tulo missed a lot of the season last year. So, I mean, he's their superstar, big bat in the middle of the lineup. So, I think having him back for a full season hopefully will kind of interject some offense. And Kadire and Gonzalez in their corner outfield spots can swing the bat. And Helton, even though he's getting up there in age, he can still, produce from the plate. He's not the same guy that could carry a team, but he's probably gonna be hitting like 5th or 6th in the order maybe, and will help at least keep them in games.
Hopefully, you never know with a guy like Helton. He's getting up there.
Yeah, he's got to be like 37.
Yeah, I mean he's at the very, very end of his career. I mean, he had a very solid career. He's a guy that I always liked watching. I seen him play. I mean, he was a solid player. Guy who didn't get necessarily the amount of credit and attention they should have because he's been a big part of that Rockies team for as long as he's been there. But his production levels are kind of tinkering off a little bit. And
yeah,
you never know. I mean, he's getting older. He could get injured. He could not. I mean, he could just not perform well this year. I mean, that's a question mark for him. Yeah, I mean, their pitching staff is probably their biggest question mark. Definitely.
The only names I recognize on there are Francis and Garland, and they're not, knock your socks off, top of the line, rotation guys.
I mean, they got some young guys they can bring up if need be.
Your boy, Drew Pomerantz.
Yeah, hometown kid, Drew Pomerantz, started the season in AAA. Struggled last year in his rookie season, but he was only 23 years old. So he's 24 now, so he's got time to improve. And they sent him down to work on his changeup and curveball. Just work on something other than his fastball. So, he's a big lefty, throwing in mid 90s. So he can definitely do something when he gets the call up. So he's somebody that they could potentially bring up if guys are struggling, but still isn't going to be that much of a difference. I mean, their pitching staff, just from top to bottom, is not necessarily what you want.
All right. So, are you taking the over under, which was what 70.5 for the Rockies?
Yeah. Take the under. I'd say high 60s.
I'm gonna take the over, but not by much, like 74 maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's hard for me to take an under when it's at like 70. Because saying a team is going to win 60, like you say they're going to win 62 games, that means you're saying they're going to lose 100. Like that's a lot of losses. Losing 100 games is a lot. But I still put them at the high 60s.
That's fair. All right, so just to kind of wrap up here, give me one kind of thing you're going to be watching, storyline.
What storyline?
In this division.
One storyline in this division? I guess I got to go back to the Diamondbacks. See how they are. Not necessarily, a specific player on their team, how they're doing, but just see how they are at the All-Star break, and I'm going to be watching closely in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
For sure, just to see, especially once, late July, August, September, August come around, see if they're in the hunt, and, they could put, like we were talking about earlier, they could poach some wins from the Giants and Dodgers, especially if they're in a race or something like that. They could help decide their race, or they might win some games, steal some games from them, and put themselves in a position to make the wild card.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you that crazy kind of Do you think there's an outside chance that Arizona is at least in contention for that second wild card spot in the National League?
Yeah, definitely, because we talked about it, like the last couple of times on our show. The Central Division, I feel like it's just going to be two teams, the Cardinals and Reds. You never know, like Cardinals could get hurt, fall off, so they could be way down. The Reds could run away with the division. And I think in the AL East, the teams are just going to beat up on each other up at the top. So, I mean, if the Diamondbacks can steal some wins here and there from some teams, they definitely put themselves in a chance to get in the wild card just because, I mean, all the other teams are just going to beat up on each other and they can sneak in there.
Yeah, I mean, the All-Star break in baseball is kind of like the benchmark. Like, all right, if we're in contention at the All-Star break, we can really make a run at this thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're within, like 7 games at the All-Star break, I mean, you're still doing good.
Yeah, teams have come back from...
Yeah, I mean, from worse than that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to definitely watch the Giants. Just seeing, if they can repeat how their season's going to go following the World Series and just whether or not their lineup, guys like Scooter and Pagan, continue to produce at the same level. And it's always fun to watch the defending champ go through the season. And like you mentioned earlier, they're going to get every team's best shot. And it's going to kind of be like the lesser team's World Series. And the stadium's going to be full. And people are going to want to see them get knocked off and just kind of how they respond. I think their pitching staff is going to allow them to, give them a good shot to get back to the playoffs, if not get back to the World Series. But just to see how they kind of handle the pressure of having the target on their back is going to be somewhat interesting. Now, give me one player in this division you're going to be watching.
All right, I was trying to think about this. There's a couple guys. I mean, this division is really interesting to me. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I want to keep an eye on for sure. So there's some guys with some big time potential. I'm gonna give a couple. I'll let you go first because I don't want to take what you have because I have a couple in mind. Who's your guy?
All right, my guy's Carl Crawford from the Dodgers. I'm wearing his shirt right now when it's the Rays because back when he was with Tampa, just the way he played, his speed and power and his defensive prowess in left field, he was one of my favorite players. And I thought when he signed with the Red Sox, I thought he was just going to explode and kind of finally be put in the spotlight that eluded him when he was in Tampa. Just small market team, they were bad for so many years. But injuries and lack of production, led to him getting traded to the Dodgers. And I think, like you said, it could be a fresh start for him if he could stay healthy. And if he can, pairing him with Ethier and Kemp and Gonzalez in that lineup, I think he could have a potential to have a comeback season and, kind of be the Carl Crawford in Tampa that earned him that 7-year, $142 million contract with Boston.
Yeah.
So he's my guy to watch in this division. Now, you have multiple guys?
I have multiple guys for a couple reasons. I have one guy for, our purpose of seeing how they do. But I'm going to go with I have two guys that I'm going to watch just because connection. First, Matt Cain. He's from...
A lot of Memphis boys in this division.
There's a lot of Memphis boys. Drew Pomeranz for Rockies. But Matt Cain, from Memphis, hometown. I mean, I'm going to be watching him, obviously. Yeah, it's a big deal. Also, Logan Forsythe went to Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, same high school I went to. Obviously, got to watch him. I mean, I know his younger brother who's in the Mets organization. So I got to watch him. I've seen him play since I was younger.
Yeah,
that's one of the things. Personal connection. But the guy, we're talking about that really going to watch, could come back and perform well, needs to, Tim Lincecum.
Good choice.
I mean, if I said that 2 years ago,
people would look at you like crazy.
Yeah, people would that's the obvious choice. Come on, dude, take somebody else that's lower on the radar. But Tim Lincecum, went from being the A's to he's number 3 pitcher right now, listed for the Giants. He's a guy that struggled last year, but obviously, as we've seen, has big time potential. Play well.
Yeah.
New haircut. Trying, change it up a
Cut
little
down on the In-N-Out burger.
I don't know, man. I think he put on some weight, but I mean, I think he put on some good weight.
Yeah.
He needed to. It's kind of one of those things as a pitcher, especially like as you get older. You either got to put on some weight so you can get a little power behind it, or you just got to be really, really tall.
Yeah. So
And he's not really, really tall, so
he generates a lot of velocity just with his motion. Yeah.
It's real violent. So I think, all that stuff's going to help him. And he could be, if the Giants are going to win this division, he needs to pitch well, and he could be a big part of that.
If he can get back to the form where he was, one of
if he can get
the top pitcher in baseball.
If he can get back that, or if he can get close to that, the Giants are going to be a dangerous team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be serious competitors to win another World Series.
Because it was kind of like when he was at the top, when Lincecum was at the top, Kane was kind of the upcomer.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's kind of reversed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Lincecum is a proven big league starter, just kind of fell out of touch with his, prowess, I guess, or, he's been struggling. But if he can get back up to the level he was and have two guys who could be potential Cy Young candidates, both left-handed, or is Matt Cain right-handed? I forget.
Kane's
righty. So that left-right combination at the top of the rotation could carry them back to another NL pennant or World Series crown. So that wraps it up for our NL West preview and culminates our 2013 Wall-to-Wall Baseball MLB preview here on the Brad Haider podcast. It's good to have baseball back. It'll be in for the long haul, 162 games, but, it'll be fun to watch with all the teams and different players. And I think every division is going to be multiple team race.
Definitely. There's not really a division.
And then with that second wild card thrown in there, I mean, the later these races go, the better it is for baseball, the better it is for the fans and these teams. And I think it's going to be an exciting season.
Yeah, there's not really a division that stands out where one team is just going to clearly run away with it or anything like that. I mean, they're going to be competitive divisions. Wild card race is going to be competitive. I mean, it's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a fun season to watch, I feel like.
For sure. So that does it. Till next time, Brad Haider, Joe Pascal, adios.
Peace.